This is your spoiler warning for Demons of the Punjab. I would be surprised if you still have yet to see it, but here's your spoiler warning just in case. So let's move on. This episode is a very welcome bounce back from previous week's somewhat meandering and boring episode. This time we go back in time to see Yaz's grandmother when she was younger, and we find that not everything in the past is as Yaz was told by her grandmother, and they encounter some strange and mysterious demons along the way. I honestly thought that most of the elements were working pretty well in this one. We have an interesting, albeit somewhat familiar setup, and I really love the setting of this episode. It's really beautiful and it just feels so fresh, and it's not a setting that I'm particularly familiar with, and it was just cool to see it in this episode. And I believe that even though it was set in India, it was filmed in South Africa, so that's that. But please correct me if I'm wrong about that one, but I'm pretty sure this was filmed in South Africa. And with this location, what we find is that this is a seriously beautiful episode, and with the way Doctor Who's been filmed this entire season, this setting just invites eye candy to be drawn from the location, and it really is. And I also think that our setting and story served as a nice little educational tale for Doctor Who, kind of like Rosa, but focusing on a lesser known part of history, at least for Americans, and I couldn't say about other regions of the world, but at least for America. And it focused on a family from something that was much larger scaled, which helped to invest in me and show me how important the partition of India was and how it affected tens of millions of people by focusing on this family and showing how it affected them. And I do like the approach they take of making us care about the family so as to make the partition matter more to us and to get us really invested in the story. And I've heard people complain about the guest actors a good amount, but I didn't get that at all. I thought they all worked well, and they sold the characters, and when dramatic scenes were taking place, I legitimately cared, and the demons worked really well in the episode. I like that they aren't villains after all, but are just remembering the people that nobody remembers, and they are paying respects to those lost, and that was a really neat little twist. And although it couldn't help but remind me of Twice Upon a Time, which was only 6 episodes ago, it wasn't a copy of that idea, just reminiscent, so that didn't bother me. It was just something to note. I felt this episode nearly gets the balance right for our main cast, but still comes just shy of doing so. I love that we get to see a lot more of Yaz doing stuff, and we learn a lot more about her, and I felt way more connected to her than I did last week, so I felt they did quite a good job of growing her as a character. And Graham gets a couple of good moments, and overall it was just an enjoyable presence to have on screen, and I do like when he has a conversation with Yaz outside, and that was quite lovely. And there's another scene that makes me love him more, which is when he starts to talk to the man and starts to tear up because he knows that he's going to die, and that was very lovely. And that was a great little beat in the story. And I also want to note that I love how he calls the Doctor Doc, and that's just a fun, almost little cute little quirk for me. And it's funny to me because the first Doctor didn't like being called Doc, so seeing it back with a more lighthearted Doctor just makes sense to me. And the Doctor is still really entertaining, and this time we get to see her be a little bit more commanding with the demons before we see what was actually going on, so that was nice. And also she does stuff that is kind of weird, like building this contraption, but it's also really cool, and just other fun stuff like facilitating the marriage, and yeah, she's just really entertaining to watch on screen. Ryan certainly gets the short end of the stick in this episode. He doesn't really get much to do. I mean, he's there, and that counts for something, but currently, I do kind of feel like this is too many people in the TARDIS. I think 3 people works quite well, and so does 2, but they never seem to be able to strike the balance quite right with 4, at least so far. And there's never been able to be quite enough time for each of these characters to get balanced really well with the engaging story, and that's a shame. And I hope that it doesn't always feel this way, but currently it still does. I do really like the ending of this episode. It actually got me to feel quite a bit as we see one man, not literally but effectively, kill his brother, and we see the Doctor flinch as everyone walks away, and I must say that was really well handled and was probably the thing that sold me the most on this episode. And also the ending moment with Yaz and her grandmother was a sweet way to end this episode, and the ending credits played this beautiful rendition of the Doctor Who theme done in the style of the music from the episode, which was fantastic to listen to. And by the way, the music throughout the episode was great, which is practically given at this point. Overall, this episode was really good. We had an engaging story set in a lovely setting with some engaging surprises. The new supporting cast works quite well, and our main cast has a pretty good balance, if slightly imperfect. There was some solid cinematography as well as beautiful music, so I'm going to give Demons of the Punjab a very solid rating of 8.75 out of 10. By the way, I do like how the title connects to the actual demons, as well as the demons of the people in the story. That was nice, except for the fact that they had to say it in the episode, which pretty much completely ruined it. I'm surprised at how divisive this one's been. I personally thought it was great, so be sure to let me know what you thought about this episode, and I'll get back to you in the comments. And if you join me in the next week's review, then I will be reviewing Kerblam. So I hope to see you then. I've already seen the episode and I'm really excited to talk about it just because of when I'm recording this and when it came out and everything. I'm really far behind. I'm catching up. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, I hope to see you again next week. Thank you for watching. Take care and have a lovely week.